Here we go. On today's Skip Bayless show, brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, I go boom, boom, boom. SHEDEUR, MICAH. And I fire back at Sophie Cunningham about Caitlin Clark, and then I'll give you a little bonus topic right at the end about the new ESPN Top 100 NFL players. Hang on tight. So now it sounds like the Cleveland Browns are going to all but imprison SHEDEUR Sanders. Okay, look, that's probably too strong a word, but imprison him in the football sense of a very talented rookie quarterback who obviously needs reps, he needs an opportunity, and who is now trapped as the fourth string quarterback on the active 53-man roster, who won't be getting many, if any, practice reps, maybe some on the scout team shared with Dylan Gabriel, but he'll get most of them. And who now, barring some miraculous luck, will not get the opportunity to play in a single real game. Hope I'm wrong about that. I'll get into that. But it's very possible we have seen the very last of SHEDEUR Sanders in 2025. Now that he'll be stashed in the shadows in Cleveland, Ohio, on what a lot of people think is the NFL's worst team, which I'm sure many around the NFL are celebrating as we speak. They are chuckling about this. They're calling each other about this because many in the NFL wanted to teach SHEDEUR and his daddy a lesson. We don't do it that way up here in the NFL. Potential franchise quarterbacks do not make arrogant, egotistical pre-draft statements. They do not drive 3 or 4 exotic cars while they're still playing college football. And their head coach / father shouldn't have spoiled this young man, this quarterback, by having a DJ in the Colorado locker room before and after games and even at halftime. Bomb, bomb, bomb. It goes on and on and on. The NFL wanted to see SHEDEUR and Dion humbled. And having SHEDEUR stuck all the way down at fourth string in Cleveland, Ohio with the Browns, the sorry-ass Browns, must seem like the perfect way to achieve that. Humbled. Out here in LA, I can hear the laughter coming from all over the NFL. And it just makes me want to puke. Nothing in sports has ever angered me more than what the NFL has done to SHEDEUR Sanders and to his father. I'll say it one last time. Yeah. I said he should go first overall. I said it before last college football season. Mel Kiper Jr. wound up ranking SHEDEUR above Cam Ward. But the league said, humble him. Now, I am not saying some memo went out to humble him. I'm not saying there's a smoking gun memo out there somewhere. I'm not even saying this came from the league office. I'm saying this was the good old boy network to a large extent around the NFL. This is coaches, this is GMs, scouts, front office people. A lot of fraternity going on, whole lot of bad mouthing by phone. It just, the word got out. No, 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 no. Whole lot of, no way, we're taking him. And then, oh, no way, we're taking him. No way, we're taking him. No way, no way, no way, no way. It just spread like evil wildfire around the NFL. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. Do not underestimate how many head coaches out there in the NFL were scared to death of taking SHEDEUR because they were scared to death that either Dion would soon campaign for their job or maybe the owner would start thinking, man, I could bring Dion in here and sell a few more billion tickets. And Dion, as they all knew, would be hired over them just on pure star power alone, just on charisma, on magnitude, on neon Dion, on Coach Prime, on everything Dion. They knew it and they were scared to death of it. So in the end, because of all the above, SHEDEUR, he was blackballed, or maybe more accurately, he was whiteballed. Look, I'll say it one last time. Help me, God. The Browns showed you their hand by taking Dillon Gabriel 50 slots higher than they wound up taking SHEDEUR. Took Dillon Gabriel in the 3rd round, SHEDEUR in the 5th. The head coach, Kevin Stefanski, did not want SHEDEUR Sanders. The GM, Andrew Berry, clearly did not want SHEDEUR Sanders, but the owner, Jimmy Haslam, got involved, as he's wont to do, in the 5th round and said, okay, let's take SHEDEUR now. I believe Haslam just saw SHEDEUR as a publicity stunt, anything to take some of the focus off the fact that the Browns have the worst odds to win the Super Bowl in the NFL. But quarterback injuries conspired against the Browns to start with. They were forced, of course, to give SHEDEUR a shot in the first preseason game only because of all that spate of injuries. No surprise here, SHEDEUR played like the first pick in the draft. Then the Browns got a huge break. SHEDEUR pulled an oblique muscle, and he couldn't go in the second preseason game. Did that ever take Stefanski off the hook? And then Saturday, of course, in the final preseason game, they threw SHEDEUR into the fire in the 3rd quarter, let him play, I guess you'd say, most of the 4th quarter, with a bunch of guys who probably won't even make the roster. SHEDEUR's first throw went to a tight end who isn't even listed at 3rd or 4th string on the depth chart. So you'd have to start at what's not even listed as 5th string. It felt like SHEDEUR sabotage to me. As I said in the video, I unleashed right after the game. And on Sunday, Stefanski was asked about sabotaging SHEDEUR, presumably a question triggered by my video. And of course, Stefanski said, no, blah, 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 blah. I said in my video, I at least hoped the Browns would have the decency to put SHEDEUR on their practice squad so that any team could sign him, and maybe some desperate team out there would wise up and go against the NFL grain and plunge on SHEDEUR. I just need SHEDEUR to land someplace where somebody actually wants him for more than a publicity stunt, actually thinks maybe he can play and maybe he would get a shot. But now it sounds like the Browns are going to do something that has rarely been done in the NFL, and that is keep 4 quarterbacks on the active roster. Even though the Browns are, say it again, according to the odds makers, the worst team in the NFL. And now they'll make themselves a little worse because they won't be able to add 2 more players as quality backups and special teams performers because they're keeping 2 more quarterbacks than they'll need. But clearly, here's the point. They don't want to risk SHEDEUR coming back to haunt them. So they're willing to waste a roster spot to make sure he's going nowhere. Or at least Jimmy Haslam is probably the one pulling the strings there, saying you got to keep SHEDEUR on the active roster, off the practice squad, out of harm's way, because I don't want to look like a bigger fool than I already look like. So in recent memory, 5 teams have kept 4 quarterbacks on their 53-man roster. That's going back to Washington in 2013, Jets in 2016 and 2020, Dolphins in 2018, and the Saints in 2021. Yet, here is the point that you must let go into your brain. None of those teams kept 2 rookie quarterbacks among those 4. I mean, who these days drafts 2 rookie quarterbacks? You just don't, because usually you already have a couple of veterans. You draft a rookie, and then you're not going to draft another rookie quarterback. I mean, obviously, speaking of the Cowboy documentary that's out there, the America's Team documentary, the last time I can remember anything like this was way back when I was covering the Cowboys in 1989, when Jimmy Johnson was so unsold on the Troy Aikman that he took number 1 overall, that in that summer's what was called then the supplemental draft, obviously doesn't exist anymore. Jimmy took his old University of Miami quarterback, Steve Walsh. He'd won a championship with Steve Walsh, national championship. Took Steve Walsh first overall. So those Cowboys had 2 number 1 overall pick rookies competing in training camp. Never happened before, since, won't. But again, those days are gone. In recent times, keeping 2 veterans in Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett, and then 2 rookies in Dillon Gabriel and SHEDEUR is just, it's unprecedented. And it's because they're afraid of what SHEDEUR might do to them if you expose him on your practice squad and somebody says, yes, I'll take him. So I keep racking my brain, wondering now if another team would trade for SHEDEUR. So let's say another team offered, let's say, a 5th rounder in trade for SHEDEUR, maybe even a 4th rounder. Even then, I doubt Haslam would do it, because he wouldn't want to risk the shame of SHEDEUR turning into the star he can be elsewhere. Man, I hope some team offers maybe a 3rd. Would some team offer a 3rd? That'd be a lot for a 5th round rookie. Maybe if that happened, Haslam would just throw up his hands and say, okay, take it. Because I just want SHEDEUR out from under a coaching staff and a front office that obviously didn't want him in the first place and really doesn't want him now. Please get SHEDEUR Sanders the hell out of Cleveland. Somehow, some way out of Cleveland. Please. And by the way, if you're skeptical or maybe even laughing at my opinion about a league-wide conspiracy against SHEDEUR, did you catch what Hall of Famer Eric Dickerson said last week on an LA radio show? Eric Dickerson said, quote, I tell you this much, what I heard from someone that's in the NFL, that the NFL told teams, don't draft him, do not draft him. We're going to make an example out of him. And this came from a very good source, said Eric Dickerson. Eric said he also heard that SHEDEUR, after SHEDEUR had fallen all the way to the 5th round, that the Browns were ordered to stop the free fall and take him. I'm not so sure about that, but again, it was obvious to me and to Mel Kiper that the word had circulated. I'm not saying from the top, from the league. I'm not trying to incriminate the commissioner here, just that the word had gotten out, the network of word, the fraternity word among coaches and scouts and execs, don't take SHEDEUR. Mel blew up about this, as you recall, on ESPN, called it disgusting and nonsensical, and finally saying, the NFL has been clueless for about 50 years about evaluating quarterbacks. And that is obviously so true. See Tom Brady in the 6th round, Joe Montana in the 3rd round. Those are the best 2 quarterbacks ever, 6th round, 3rd round. Who knew? But this obviously was very different than that. This was a lesson-teaching conspiracy. So now I'm left with this. What's the best case scenario here? What's that last hurrah, that possible God is good development, as maybe Dion might say about his son? Okay, so the Browns open with, get ready for this, Bengals at Ravens, Packers at Lions, Vikings at Steelers. So, okay, I'm not wishing any evil on anybody, but let's say Flacco goes 0-6, gets beat up at age 40. I don't know. Maybe they try Kenny Pickett. He seems to have fallen out of favor with this hamstring injury, but I don't know. Let's just do hypothetical here. Maybe they try Kenny Pickett for a few games. Then maybe they fall to, 2-10, and Jimmy Haslam said, okay, that's enough. Let's see what Gabriel looks like. And maybe Dylan Gabriel, who I've said all along, he's a little better than Tua, which is pretty good. I know him inside and out. He's pretty good, but he's not SHEDEUR. So maybe they throw Dylan Gabriel into that worst team in the NFL fire, and he has his moments, but ultimately unravels. And finally, let's just say for the point of discussion here that SHEDEUR Sanders finally gets his shot for the last 3 games of the year. That would be Bills and Steelers at home in Cleveland, then the finale at Cincinnati. Not easy, but SHEDEUR, trust me, would rise to that occasion. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that SHEDEUR Sanders gets his shot for, I don't know, let's say the last 3 games, and he just lights them up. And he convinces Jimmy Haslam he should be the man, the starter going into the 2026 offseason and season. And let's just say, help me God, let's just say that Haslam fires Stefanski and he fires Andrew Berry, and here we go. I mean, who knows what crazy injuries could happen this season? I am not wishing injuries on any of the other Cleveland Browns quarterbacks. But history tells you they do happen and happen a lot. All I know for sure is that if SHEDEUR Sanders is given the slightest of opportunities to start a real NFL game surrounded by real players, starters on offense, starters on defense, even for the worst team, he will electrify the team and the city and ultimately the country. He will shine with his deadly accuracy and his clutch toughness, and he will shame the National Football League. Better laugh now, all you NFL scouts and coaches out there. Better laugh now while he's stuck in Cleveland at 4th string, because I'm here to tell you that SHEDEUR Sanders will have the last laugh. On Tuesday, August 26th, it's FanDuel Futures Day, a new holiday for football fans. It is 24 hours of deals on all your football season predictions. You can crown your champion in August. It's still a little early for me to make my ultimate Super Bowl pick, so I do reserve the right to change by, let's say, September 3rd. But right here, right now, I am taking to win it all this season, drumroll please, the Baltimore Ravens. Here I go again. They obviously have the best overall, the deepest team with a top 3 quarterback in Lamar Jackson, who obviously needs to finally break through and validate his 2 MVPs. He's 3-5 in the postseason, not good enough. Now, in the AFC, I am intrigued by Joe Burrow and the Bengals. That's if they don't trade Trey Hendrickson, if they get that deal done. I know they're still lacking on defense, but it's going to be better than it was last year. And over in the NFC, I still think the Eagles, that I picked before last season to win it all, I still think the Eagles are the best team in the NFC, though I am intrigued by Jaden Daniels and Washington. But in the end, I've got Lamar over Jalen Hurts in the Super Bowl. So mark your calendars. This is your day for your hunches, your hot takes, your calls, your odds. Visit FanDuel.com/ my first name, SKIP. That's FanDuel.com/skip to join today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. That's FanDuel. Play your game. So Micah Parsons went childlike the other night in the Cowboy game. He protested by refusing to wear the jersey that's required of every non-playing player on the sidelines during preseason games. Image is everything for the NFL. The last thing it wants during these practice games that season ticket holders are just forced to pay for. Last thing the NFL wants during these practice games is a bunch of non-playing stars drawing attention to themselves by making individual fashion statements as they roam the sidelines with nothing better to do. At least you want CD and Dak to blend in if they're not playing, to be camouflaged in 88 and 4 jerseys. But as you know by now, not only was Micah not wearing number 11, he further made a spectacle of himself, threw a bit of a tantrum by lying down on a table, a massage table behind the bench. Didn't stay for long, but he did lie down just to make a little quick statement. So Brian Schottenheimer, as the new puppet coach of the Dallas Cowboys, vowed to the media he would talk to Michael about his in-game behavior the other night. Look, Schotty's trying to prove that he is in control of this team, even though everyone in the locker room knew exactly what Micah was doing and why he was doing it and needed no intervention by the head coach. Look, I'll say this again. The way Micah has handled this entire negotiation has done nothing but validate why I do not believe he is worth the most money ever paid to a defensive player. Micah is not a team leader. He's more of a weekly podcast solo act who still has some maturing to do. He hasn't been very strategic through this negotiation, hasn't been very calculated or frankly very smart about this hold-in, because he shouldn't have reported on time to training camp and given away his leverage, as I detailed soon after he reported on time. Furthermore, bigger picture, on a contract of this magnitude, Micah should have played by Jerry Jones's old school oil field rules, and he should have negotiated Jerry's way. Eye to eye, handshake to handshake, no agent involved. This would have been disadvantaged Jerry, as I also detailed. Look, Jerry loves Micah far more than he ever loved Dak. Far more than he loves CD, who Jerry still refers to weirdly as just Lamb. He just calls him Lamb. There's no real personal connection there. But Jerry is prone to spoiling Micah like he's a great grandson. And until now, as you know, Micah has been listening only to his agent, who obviously doesn't want other clients or future clients to think that he looks like he's being bullied by Jerry Jones, that he's being run over in this negotiation, cut out of this negotiation. When in this case, his client would benefit hugely from the agent playing silent partner. Again, Jerry says that back in March, just he and Micah in the office, Jerry offered Micah almost $200 million guaranteed. What? That's more than all but 6 quarterbacks make. That would be silly money for a Micah who hasn't wrecked a game since his rookie year, who ranks 5th in sacks and 5th in quarterback hits since he entered the league, and who has only 1 sack in 4 playoff games that he's played in. And that 1 sack came against 45-year-old Tom Brady and the 8-9 Bucks. Ugh. I believe Jerry offered Micah almost $200 million guaranteed back in March. Micah was a fool not to shake on that back in March. Yet, the other night on Michael Irvin's podcast, Jerry Jones reopened his office door to Micah. Jerry told Michael Irvin to go get Micah and bring Micah to Jerry's office and that the deal would get done quickly. Look, I know Jerry. I know him inside and out. And I think he was suggesting he'd even sweeten the pot from the March offer. Jerry reminded Michael Irvin that he and Michael did Michael's biggest contract eye to eye on a handshake, no agent present. Michael said, yep, boss, that's right. Michael Irvin is Jerry's all-time favorite cowboy. I think Jerry sees some of himself in Michael, some win the game, win the party, some midnight cowboy. Jerry's got some of that in him too. And by the way, speaking of that, in the cowboy documentary, hope you've seen much, if not all of it now on Netflix, I'm still not sure how Michael Irvin got out of his drug trial following that last Super Bowl in 95, when the DA had plenty of evidence to convict him and send him to jail. Then after the judge suddenly gave him just probation, that same judge who is interviewed in the new documentary again let Michael off after Michael, as he admits in the documentary, stabbed a teammate in the neck with scissors, nearly killed him, then convinced the judge it was just an accident during horseplay. What? You can't tell me Jerry Jones didn't twice pull big strings to keep Michael Irvin out of jail. And now, lo, these many years later, Michael is about to turn 60 years of age, Jerry still treats Michael like the only friend he has. Jerry doesn't have many friends. Some people say any friends. Although I will say this, Michael's greatest strength is turning on that charm of his and convincing you that you are his best friend when that's not exactly the case. But here's my point. Maybe Michael Irvin did take Jerry Jones' suggestion on that podcast the other day as more of an order. And no doubt Michael would love to take some credit for breaking the ice and getting MICAH signed. So maybe that happens Sunday, or maybe as we speak now, maybe Michael is right here, right now, mediating a deal between MICAH and Jerry in Jerry's office, just the three of them. For MICAH's sake, I hope he's seen the error of his ways back in March. For my sake, I fear he has, because I fear Jerry's about to absurdly overpay Micah Parsons. But I did predict from the start of this situation, this conflict, that the deal would get done today or tomorrow, Monday or Tuesday after the final preseason game. This has been Jerry's MO all along, Jerry's history of contract impasses. He keeps himself in the national spotlight as the penny-pinching villain until right now. Then he caves in and he overpays his star, and they hug each other in front of all the cameras, and all is well in Cowboy Nation until said star gets off to a slow start because he missed all of training camp. And by the way, that did happen last year to CeeDee Lamb. Slow start. And by the way, a year ago, I did campaign for CD to get all he could get because he had earned it, as opposed to Micah now. He, as in CD, actually deserved more than he got from Jerry Jones. But he is not treated like a great-grandson. But right here, right now, Jerry is ready to make a deal. And Micah has all the momentum on his side because the fans are, I think, 99.9% are on his side. Jerry said as much to Michael Irvin on the podcast that he's ready to make a deal. So if Micah is smart, I'm not sure about that, but if he is, he'll right here, right now, have his agent school him on exactly what he needs to ask for on all the biggest issues. Micah should write all this down on legal pad or type it all on his phone, however he can. Try to memorize as much of it as possible so he can just quickly refer to it while he and Jerry are going back and forth, maybe with Michael Irvin mediating. I guarantee you Michael will get a lot farther with Jerry than the agent could. Guarantee it. Micah should hold that line in ways he is not able to, not capable of against the run while he's on the football field. And he should push Jerry to give him what he and the agent want. Whatever it is they agree to before he goes through that door. Jerry will get a kick out of Micah sparring with him. He'll respect it. Jerry said on Michael Irvin's podcast that back in March, he already went over what he initially wanted to pay Micah. So he already went out there, said Jerry. But now Micah should understand that he has Jerry right where he wants him. He's got him. He's got the leverage back. Now, if Micah just plays by Jerry's rules, no agent involved, Jerry will cave in like it's Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom. Jerry will go softer than Dairy Queen ice cream. He always has, probably always will. This thing wouldn't take more than an hour to sign off on. Then the agent can clean up all the fine print with Stephen Jones on the phone. Jerry gave you the metallic blue blueprint right there on Michael Irvin's podcast the other night. Just laid it all out for you. Now, of course, allow me to reiterate, if I ran the Dallas Cowboys that I love with all my heart and soul, if I ran them, you already know what I'd do. I'd make Micah play out the final year of his rookie deal. It's still $24 million, not chicken feed. But I'd try to light a new fire under Micah Parsons. I'd hope he started to grow up some, maybe started to lose a little interest in his weekly podcast. Then, depending on how well he played, I'd use the franchise tag on Micah at least once, maybe twice. The rules say you can use it twice. That would all depend on how he was performing. If he turned into the NFL's best pass rusher, a consistent game wrecker, difference maker, if I started to see just a little bit of Lawrence Taylor, then I'd go back to him with a long-term offer. Then I'd try to lock him up. Now he could try to get his revenge by playing hard to get, threatening to hit free agency, but Micah loves it in Dallas. They all do. They love that star in their helmet. They love being a Cowboy in Dallas, America's team. And remember, I'd still have him for 3 more years under the collective bargaining agreement. 3 more years. So if I so chose, I could keep him the 3 years, he with gritted teeth, but I don't know, maybe I'd win a Super Bowl or 2. Maybe I'd win at least one. Maybe I'd at least get to the first NFC Championship game in 31 or 32 years. Maybe I'd get there with Micah Parsons playing angry for once and trying to show me how wrong I was. But that's just me. Jerry Jones almost certainly won't do any of that. No. He wants to pay his favorite Cowboy today. Hey, maybe Micah will give Jerry Jones 2 friends. By the way, you should secure your internet privacy, your online privacy with Surfshark. You can go to surfshark.com/Bayless. Use my last name. That's surfshark.com/BAYLESS. Or just use my last name, BAYLESS, for 4 extra months of Surfshark. You'll find the URL and the code in the show notes. Check them out. Remember them. And don't forget, it's risk-free with a 30-day money-back guarantee. You can browse with complete protection with Surfshark. Protect your data. Explore the web securely with Surfshark. Surfshark works. So, Sophie Cunningham blasted me the other day over what I said about Caitlin Clark. I guess Sophie has blasted a lot of people on her new Show Me Something podcast. She says the WNBA has fined her after each of her first three podcasts. Wow. She says that proudly. So now, before I respond to Sophie's criticism, allow me to compliment Sophie. Just remember, in her first 6 years in the WNBA playing for Phoenix, nobody outside of Phoenix knew who she was, very few. She had been the first pick in the second round. She was no more than a part-time starter in Phoenix, and she averaged 8 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist in those 6 seasons. But then, of course, the heavens opened, and she got traded to Caitlin Clark's team. By far the biggest stage in the league, thanks to Caitlin Clark. And did Sophie Cunningham ever start taking advantage of that? She quickly befriended Caitlin. That was smart. And she assumed the role of Caitlin's on-court and in interviews defender and protector, or public defender. Did that ever quickly endear her to Caitlin's, billions of fans out there? All those 22 wearing fans. Then with the spotlight shining on Sophie 100 times brighter than ever before, she started making grand entrances into arenas wearing spicy outfits, some of them pretty provocative and very cool. Now she has 1 million followers on Instagram. Who knew? Now, in Caitlin's injury absence, Sophie has jumped right into that void and become a national thing, a new it girl, a nationally known star, Sophie Cunningham. Now, it didn't hurt that she, like Caitlin, is white, and that she, unlike Caitlin, can let her natural charisma and charm flow while she's playing the on-court jester, the class clown. She's pranking, she's laughing, she's just having a ball playing basketball for the Indiana Fever as the world watches. And I got to give her this prop also. She has backed up all of her showmanship with her performance. Now, she's averaging only 9 points, 4 rebounds, and 1 assist in Indiana, but to her credit, in Indiana, she has been a much better shooter this season than Caitlin has been, much better. Sophie, having made a career-high 47% from the floor and a career-high 43% from 3. That'll work. Way to go. So Sophie Cunningham has actually done a pretty amazing job of filling the Caitlin Clark void. She's sort of become Caitlin's alter ego, sort of a crazier Caitlin, unafraid of showing her wilder side. Sophie's actually turned herself into a one-name star. Now all you have to say is Sophie, and everybody knows. Wow, who knew? So it was too bad that Sophie tore her MCL in her right knee. It's out for the rest of the season. And for that matter, it's too bad that so many of the Indiana Fever players have gotten hurt this year. Whew, it's just been an epidemic, and that, of course, includes Caitlin Clark. Now, I never missed a dribble of Fever games before the injury god said, no, not this year. But now, I must admit, I don't watch much. Understand, I'd still much, much, much rather watch Caitlin Clark play basketball than watch Sophie on or off the court. Sophie did make that team that much more entertaining to watch as long as Caitlin was playing. Caitlin last played on July 15th. That seems forever ago. Now with 6 games left and the Fever still barely clinging to a playoff spot, it's feeling like Caitlin, it's just feeling like she's decided to shut it down and just start fresh again next season. Yet, as I keep saying on my podcast, this season for Caitlin Clark has just gotten curiouser and curiouser to the point of being flat out inexplicably bizarre. Before this season, Caitlin had played, according to ESPN, at least 206 straight games dating all the way back into her high school playing days. That meant that no matter what nagging injuries she might have suffered, she had not missed a single game in 206 straight games before this season started. I mean, she was phenomenally durable, superhero durable, Iron Lady. Then this preseason, before this year started, she suffered what the team said was a left quad sprain. That was in the preseason. And then pretty soon in the regular season, said the team, she pulled her right groin. Then, according to the team, she pulled her left groin on July 15th, and here we are. I mean, come on, man. Maybe Caitlin needs to hire a better trainer or physical therapist to stretch her out better before games. I don't know. This is just weird. So many soft tissue pulls. Nothing hugely major. No knee, no shoulder, no Achilles. Just pull and pull and pull. So a few podcasts back, I'm talking about my podcast, I wondered, and I stressed I was just wondering out loud, if maybe Caitlin were taking longer to return because she just needed a little mental break from all the animosity, all the negativity, the jealousy, the resentment, the on-court bullying, the verbal shots taken at her, one right after the All-Star game in which she could not participate. And I also pointed out, as big a Caitlin fan as I am, I'm still going to be honest with you, I pointed out that the injuries had helped send her just spiraling down into what has to be the worst slump of her life. It's got to be. I mean, this season on the road, she's 2 of 35 from 3. 2 of 35. I think maybe I could make 2 of 35 from 3 even on the road, but on the road, Caitlin's shooting only 29% from the floor. That's horrendously bad, and 5.7% from 3. So overall for the season, she's only 37% from the floor, which ranks 132nd in the league, and only 28% from 3, which ranks 115th in the WNBA. Lord have mercy. Isn't it possible she just needed a mental break from her slump? Just that? No doubt. Caitlin's been scary hard on herself over her poor shooting. You just know she has. Yet, guess what happened as soon as I wondered out loud about why it was taking so long for Caitlin to come back from the right groin pull? The team suddenly announced on August 20th that, according to the team, on August 17th, Caitlin was working out before a game in Phoenix when she suffered a, quote unquote, mild bone bruise, quote unquote, on her on her left ankle? I'm going to say this again. The WNBA has become the most secretive, thin-skinned, paranoid, media-controlling league in this country. No other league is close. Not the NFL, not the NBA. So I'm never sure what to trust or not trust when the league or one of its teams announces something. But after this revelation, of course, I was supposed to say, oh, that's why she's taking so long to return from the groin pull. She has a mild bone bruise on her left ankle. Oh, now I get it. Does anyone out there but me wonder what exactly is going on here? I mean, look, Caitlin Clark is the WNBA. She put it on the national map. Her genius passing and her jump shooting from the logo are more must-see than anything this league has ever offered. Ratings will continue to fall without Caitlin Clark. So I wonder, in fact, I also wondered out loud if it's possible she got so sick of all the resentment from all the veteran stars that she finally said, okay, I'll sit out the rest of the season and we'll see how you rate without me. I mean, seriously, I ask again, does anyone out there but me wonder what is going on with Caitlin Clark this season? I was so excited about Caitlin Clark in her second season, and now I am so mystified by what happened to Caitlin Clark in her second WNBA season. Now, back to Sophie. Of course she ripped me for wondering if Caitlin needed a mental break from all the negativity, even though, Sophie, that wasn't a criticism. I was actually proposing a sympathetic explanation for it. Yet Sophie said on her podcast, that's literally bullshit. No one's lying. Sophie added, when people say stuff like that, I'm just like, shut up. See Caitlin, critic. Rip Caitlin, critic. Defend Caitlin. Get more IG followers. Of course, Sophie was very careful not to mention what I prominently mentioned on my podcast, and that's Caitlin's mind-boggling shooting slump. No, she's not going to touch that, Sophie. Hey, bottom line, Sophie Cunningham is a shrewd operator. She can really play the game within the game, the social media game, the get famous game. Obviously, she didn't wish injury on Caitlin, but has one name, Sophie, ever benefited from Caitlin Clark's stranger and stranger second season? Whew. Okay, before I go, a quick word about this just released ESPN list of the top 100 NFL players. This list, to differentiate from the NFL's top 100 list as voted upon by the players, is done by ESPN's experts, insiders. And its point is it's projecting who will be the best 100 players from 100 down to 1 in this coming season's National Football League. Okay, got it. Now to my pet peeve. It's a quarterback's game. Quarterback is by far the most valuable position, obviously, in the sport of football. So it's just hard for me to justify you're making a top 100 list and ranking so many players ahead of so many quarterbacks. So many players at other positions not nearly as impactful as quarterback. So, for example, right away, I see C.J. Stroud is ranked 90th on this list, on the ESPN list, 90th. He obviously plays quarterback for the Houston Texans. All the way down at 12th on the list is the Eagles' right tackle, not left tackle, but the right tackle, Lane Johnson, who's very good. Best right tackle in football, give you that. Some make the case he's the best any tackle in football, including the blind side for most of the right-handed quarterbacks, the left tackle, the blind side protector. But let me ask you, if you suddenly said that C.J. Stroud and Lane Johnson, by the way, he's 35 years of age, but if you took C.J. and Lane and you just said, oh, we're just going to put them out on the market and anybody can have them for free. Let's just say that hypothetically. How many teams would take Lane Johnson over C.J. Stroud if they had the choice? Obviously, some teams with a top 10 quarterback would say, well, we got our quarterback, we'll take Lane Johnson. But any team with any question about their quarterback, young or old, they're just going to jump all over C.J. Stroud as opposed to Lane Johnson. That's my point. Lane Johnson is 12th on this list? No, he's not. He's just not. C.J. Stroud is 90th? No, he's not. Stop it. Jordan Love is 87th? No, he's not. Stop it. My guy Dak came in 78th. You know, in the regular season, Dak can be a top 20 quarterback. If you want to throw in the postseason, I'll give you 78. Tyler Smith is 77. You know, right here, right now, I think Tyler Smith will have a better year than Lane Johnson, who's 12th on the list, and Tyler is 77th. That's how good Tyler Smith is. He's a guard versus a tackle, but still. And just a quick point of order. I said going into the Brock Bowers draft that Brock Bowers would become the best pass catcher, regardless of position, the best receiver in the draft. I don't care what you want to call him, tight end, hybrid, whatever you want to call Brock Bowers. He's just better than any receiver in the draft, including all the wide receivers in his draft. He already ranks 20th on this list. That is a tribute to Brock Bowers, and that's the kid I saw at Georgia. That's why I said what I said. Then, just for the record, other Cowboys, CD's at 19. Okay. I just think he's the best receiver in football, the most productive, the most versatile, whatever. 19th, I'll take it. And then Micah Parsons is ranked all the way up, I should say, at 9th. So Micah is a top 10 player in this projection. And I sure hope they're right about that he will play like a top 10 player. Because others in the top 10 will go down to quarterbacks. Lamar is 4th. And then Myles Garrett checks in at 3. Wow, Myles Garrett at 3. Let's see, he makes $124 million total guaranteed dollars, and Jerry Jones offered Micah Parsons, let's just guesstimate, $190 million guaranteed, 190 to 124. Myles Garrett is 3rd on this list. Micah is 9th. To me, that's too high for Micah, but I hope he lives up to it. Then Josh Allen is 2nd, obviously the reigning MVP, which brings me to Patrick Mahomes, who is ranked 1st again. Another list with Patrick Mahomes as the best player in pro football, this one projecting him to be. And I keep saying, another pet peeve of mine, how? Look hard at Patrick Mahomes' last 2 regular seasons. Just look hard. He ranked 8th in QBR and then 8th in QBR. And all of his numbers were down from season to season, from 2 seasons ago to 1 season ago. down. Everybody says, well, he didn't have the protection. He doesn't have this. He doesn't have receivers. And now Travis Kelce is saying, well, he's admitting that he did get a little distracted because of everything that swirled around his relationship with Taylor Swift and all of his new media endeavors, even movie endeavors, podcast endeavors. So you can say, well, Patrick didn't get all of Travis, and Travis is rededicated. He said, this is going to be the year. He's just on the downside. But still, Patrick Mahomes has tailed off because he's become a little bit of a caricature of himself, that because of Andy Reid's offense and Andy Reid's support, the green light is the greenest ever, and he can try to do things he shouldn't consistently try to do. He holds the ball. You think SHEDEUR holds the ball too long. Patrick holds the ball too long, trying to make the big throw, the big highlight play. He just hasn't been that good. And he hasn't been that great in his Super Bowls either, because the first one, I'll just quickly reiterate, they're down 20-10. He throws a pick late third quarter, still down 20-10, pick early in the fourth quarter, only because Jimmy G just completely unraveled in the fourth quarter. Was Patrick able to survive the first Super Bowl and win it and be the MVP? Second Super Bowl, he was awful against Tom Brady. Third Super Bowl, he threw for a grand total of 182 yards against Jalen Hurts. And if Jalen hadn't made one unforced error, he just lost the ball and it got returned. The Eagles win that Super Bowl. He played one great Super Bowl, the overtime against San Francisco, but then last year again against Philadelphia, Patrick Mahomes was awful. But you're projecting he's going to be the best quarterback in the league this year. I don't see it, and I'm not afraid to say it. And I've been saying it about Patrick Mahomes, overhyped and overrated. But he continues to have that image and aura of, oh, well, it's Patrick Mahomes. It's his league. He's it. Is he really it? Again, I'm glad that a quarterback is ranked number one, but I don't see it. That's it for this episode. Thanks to Tyler Korn for producing, to Ernestine for overseeing, and to Hazel for approving.